So we're going to do my favorite meditation class, which is question and answer. It's my favorite because I feel like I do better on the fly. If I have time to think about my talk, I can psych myself out. But you guys ask me questions. And I like to go through like a couple of different little talks all in one go, because if I can't get it with good quality, at least we can get quantity. One of the things I'm going to say is going to be good. So your questions, and not all of your questions have to be about meditation. It should be something deep, something personal, something that's going to affect your life outside of the dojo. But a lot of the questions that I get are like, when I meditate, I have this problem, and that's fine. You should ask me those questions, but you can also ask me whatever you want. And if I've got nothing for you, then I'll just tell you I got nothing for you. But I'll probably be able to make something up. We're good? Okay. So questions. And if you guys have questions out there, put them in the comment section. Go, sir.
So a couple weeks ago, something happened and I just couldn't get it out of my head. And it was really bothering me, like a lot. And every time I would sit, it would just take over my whole head for a half hour. I couldn't breathe. And it's slowly going away, sort of, but that was like 2 weeks ago. And it's just like they just closed the jail cell and I'm in there when I'm meditating.
So what's the question?
How the heck do I get rid of that? And like, it's like ruining, like meditation is supposed to help me through that, and I think it is, but it feels like it's doing the opposite.
Got it. I got it because I've had that experience too. It's rare. I'm assuming it's rare for you too. You seem like a pretty with it meditator. But every once in a while, something in life like seriously appalling happens, and it sticks. And whenever you shut your eyes, it's right there. It's the first thing that you think about. And it oftentimes will persist all the way through meditation. And have you guys heard of this thing called Buddhism? There's this thing. A lot of people like it. It's involved. There's meditation, and there's also like the way that you're supposed to live. And I like to think of it like if you're living life the way that you want to, like in integrity and in tune with your moral code and all that stuff, that less of this sort of thing is going to happen, and it will still happen. But I know that there are some people out there who just have the worst time meditating because their lives are not conducive to a peaceful meditation practice, because everything outside of meditation is going to hell. And it's like when you sit down and close your eyes, you are bombarded with all of that nonsense. These are all of the things that I'm holding on to. These are all the things that I need to get done right now. These are all the people who hate me. These are all the people who I hate. And all of that stuff is difficult to get over. So this is the part of the answer that I think that you probably don't need much of, but it's you want to live your life and conduct yourself in a way so that when you do sit, you don't have as much of that going on. You can sit and recognize, like, a thought comes into my mind about something that I need to do, but I've got my stuff together well enough so that I can honestly say, I can take care of that later and it's not going to kill me. Some people, they got so much stuff and it's so dire that they really should get up and take care of it like right then. I mean, most of us know. But if you've got that part under control, then meditation is a lot easier. And it should go the other direction as well, where the more you meditate, the more that this should help you to take care of those things in your life. And sitting and being in quiet and in peace, in and of itself, just setting aside that time can help. And if you set aside that time and you're sitting there thinking and having all of that stress, it will be far less helpful, but it's still something. So don't don't misunderstand me right now. You should meditate. You should meditate every day and meditate as much as you can and still take care of business. Do the stuff that you need to do. And you will certainly be better at all of that stuff if you are meditating on the regular. But let's say you've got this tornado of crap. Something is happening and it's in your head and you're stuck with it. So a couple of things I would say. One, this is kind of what meditation is for, is when we have those thoughts, the practice is to let it go and to be able to come back to the breath. And we need to have thoughts. It could be something that's really dire and persistent and something that's taking over my whole day, or it could be something that's simple and not that important. But we need those thoughts so that we can get over them. This is the challenge for our practice, the challenge for our life. This is how we grow. If life was easy and we just showed up and everything was handed to us and we just got to walk through it without a care and without having to push, then what kind of life is that? There's nothing really there. There's got to be a great story, some kind of growth. And so your meditation is the same thing. There will be these things to get beyond. And some of you guys have heard me talk about this concept from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. The author describes something like this as a mind weed. And the mind weed is there for everybody. This is something that shows up, and it is there for us to get over. And you can either see that weed and think, this thing here now, why? And take it personally, really, is what we do. Why is this happening to me? How come I keep having this thought? How come I keep running into this? And we can have that kind of attitude towards it, or we can have the attitude that is like, this is good for me. This is something for me to get over. This is something for me to accept in. And it's got to start with acceptance. If you're in this state where meditation is not easy, you accept it rather than wishing that it could be some other way. And this is what we do in life so often, right? Is circumstances are less than perfect. They're not ideal. And so we take that personally and we start to fantasize about, wouldn't it be so great if it were this way? Or, how dare this person do this to me, and it should really be like this instead. But all of that is a fantasy. Acceptance is reality. This is it. This is the way that it is. And it is perfect. This is exactly the way that it's supposed to be. Your meditation is supposed to suck right now. It's supposed to be there for you to deal. And when you accept it, and you go yes, okay, I get it. This is here for me to have this experience. Oftentimes, that acceptance just opens up the door and it just goes right out. I'm watching this show. Are you guys watching The Expanse? The Expanse is a good show. It's on Sci-Fi and it's streaming on Netflix. And this is my commercial for it. If you're a kid, don't watch it. It's very violent. And they are constantly doing what they call spacing people. They open up the airlock and shove them out, and they just go whoosh, sucked right out. This is what you want to do with the thoughts and these situations. You just space that thought. You have it. It's there. And this is it keeps happening in the show. People bust onto the ship, and they're like, we're taking your ship over, or we're attacking you, we're going to kill you, and then eventually they just somehow open up the airlock and people go out. This is what the thoughts are. You can't have the thoughts and think, I can't believe this is happening right now. I'm just going to sit here and be really pissed off about it, or ruminate or continue to go back to the thought, because that's like just sitting there with those space pirates in your ship and just getting angry about it. You got to just open up the airlock and let them go. So that's what we do. You just recognize through acceptance. This is here now. This is what it is. This is the way that it's supposed to be. And from that place of acceptance, then it becomes a lot easier. Not easy, but easier to then let it go by going back to the breath. That's your airlock, is go back to the breath. And then they're going to come back in, and then you just got to go right back to the breath and just let them right back out again, and just let it go. And this meditation might be entirely just those things coming back in and you letting them back go, and they come back in and you let them go again. Or it might be you let this one go and then something new comes in and then you have to let that one go. But it's not going to happen. You can't just expect that nothing is going to show up, right? So the first thing is live your life perfectly so that nothing creeps into your meditation and messes with you. And then barring that, when it happens, accept it. Accept it and just let it go right through. And recognize that it won't be that easy, and that's just another thing that there is to accept. Other question? Yes, ma'am?
Do you have advice for practicing a skill that's really hard, having the discipline to practice a skill that's really hard every day, even when you don't want to or feel like it?
Yes, I do. So, martial arts should help with this. So it's a good thing that you're here. And for me, martial arts has very rarely, as an adult at least, been something that I don't want to do. Some days I don't feel like it. Some days I would rather just stay home. It's very rare because this is the thing that I love to do more than anything else. And even if I feel like sitting at home and watching The Expanse, I still remind myself, I'm going to get tired of this after an hour. So I'm just going to go into the dojo and love my life. But it gets at a big chunk of it, which is being really good at doing something. And so meditation, physical practice, whatever it is like I have that method of doing something, doing it every day, down. And that is what I got from practicing martial arts and meditation. And the piece that sometimes needs to be tweaked is there's this thing that I want to become great at. I need to practice it, and I don't feel like it. And if you don't feel like it every once in a while, it's pretty easy to get over that. But if it's like, I never feel like doing it, I don't want to do this every single day. That is, every single day I have the thought of, I don't want to do this. And so that's kind of the trick. The first part is just creating a habit. So it's something that we talked about a lot a couple weeks ago, habits, but go at it from this angle and then listen to the talk from a couple weeks ago. But just do it, whatever it is that you're talking about. Do you want to give us the example, or you want me to just go hypothetical? Coding? Oh, I've got no advice for you. That sounds terrible. No.
A skill that's really hard to develop.
Yeah. It's something that I can't even imagine trying to do, learning how to code. Okay, let's go with it. So you got to learn to code. You don't want to do it, but you've decided that you're going to do it. So start with the smallest amount of time possible and do it. Do it every single day. So it's just like building meditation as a habit. Consistency is the most important thing to start with. Consistency with meditation, or consistency with coding, consistency with practice, or anything that you want to do. It can start with literally 1 minute. You can code for a minute. Can you not? Absolutely. And you could code for a minute every day for the rest of your life. No problem. So then you take 1 minute and turn it into 2 minutes. And you just kind of build on that. And that consistency is really key. The next part of it is the length. So you're trying to code, and if I did it for 1 minute a day for a year, I've only got 365 minutes of coding, which I'm going to assume is probably not enough to get great at it. So you got to do it more, but start with something. Because the way that we look at things that we don't want to do is like it's all or nothing. Because this is the way that our brains work in black and white. We don't like to see the possibility of how we can work things out very often. We just want to see it like, this is something that I don't want to do, and I'm just not going to do it at all. We look at it like this insurmountable mountain. So just break it down into little chunks, doing it a minute at a time. And then when you get to that consistency of doing it for a minute, then you just add the next little chunk. And you could probably pretty quickly go to 5 minutes, go to 10 minutes, go to 20 minutes. And you kind of, I like to make this a game with my own ego sometimes. My favorite thing to do with meditation practice or with martial arts is like, I use my ego against my ego. And so I say, I like let my ego get involved, and I think of it like I'm going to be really great as a person if I meditate every day, and I meditate for X number of minutes or X number of hours. And so I let my ego get involved, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sitting because I'm such a great person. And I sit, and then meanwhile, my ego is getting killed by the meditation. It's great. And when you're coding, it's the same thing. You can just make that kind of a game that you play with yourself. It's like I'm going to make this challenge be like, can I do it every day? Can I do it for this amount of time? Okay, I made it to this time. It's time for me to level up now. And it's very difficult to go from 0 to an hour or multiple hours of coding, for example, but it's pretty easy to go from this to a little bit, and then you arrive at that time almost like effortlessly. It's just there. It's happening. And the last part of meditation is getting to depth. It's like, how deeply am I concentrating? How focused am I the entire time? And the same thing I'm going to assume with coding, where it's like anything that's complex and difficult and challenging, you're going to be required to be there, to be very focused and in the moment, and to bring your mind back to it as often as possible. So you get that consistency, then you get the amount of time that you're doing it to be greater, and then after you're doing that, it's like, I'm in the habit of sitting every day and doing this. I'm in the habit of spending this amount of time every day doing this. Then I'm going to add in some real effort to it. So it's kind of the whole idea of habits that we talked about. If you make it as easy as possible, all you have to do is add in a little bit more effort, and then you're there. And pretty soon you've got this practice of every day for a chunk of time, I'm practicing coding, and you take motivation out of it because it's just what I do, or I'm simply motivated by me fulfilling this agreement that I made with myself. I said I was going to do this, and I'm going to do it, and then I feel really good about that. And this is something that I got through martial arts and meditation, but you guys maybe have gotten through other things in your lives where you had this thing that's difficult, you decided that you were going to do it, you set out, you put in the effort, and then you actually achieve it, you get something back, and that feeling should be enough to take you all the way. Just knowing that when I pour myself into this thing, the return that I get back, the amount of improvement that I make is going to be there. And it doesn't have to be there every day, but it's there over the long run. You can see the kind of improvement that you make. So break it down, get consistent with it, get a longer amount of time, and then really get deep with it, and really celebrate the successes that you have. Allow yourself. This is something that I don't talk about often enough with our practice in martial arts or in meditation, but you really want to recognize what you are making in progress, these strides that you're making, and then really just like be cognizant of it, and maybe write it down somewhere, or maybe tell people about it, or at the very least just allow yourself to go like, yeah, I did that, I'm a little bit better, I got this that I couldn't do before. And this is so necessary because our brains work like, I'm always recognizing the things that I am bad at. I'm always recognizing the things that are not going well in life. I'm recognizing the dangers of being out, on the Serengeti and being chased by lions. I got to be able to recognize those things, but the reality of life is that there's a lot more that's great that's going on, even in something that you don't feel like doing, even something that you feel like you're bad at. Recognize those steps that you're making and celebrate them. Other question. Yes, ma'am.
This is a general question, but do you believe we should follow what we want to do versus what we should do? Sometimes there's a conflict. Sometimes it's good what we want to do is what we should do. I'm confused.
So, yeah, me too. So should we do what we want to do versus what we should do? Well, you should do what you should do. It's great if you can get what you want to do to be the same thing as what you should do. But what you should do doesn't exist unless you make it that way. So if somebody else tells you you should do this, and it just subconsciously gets in there and you have no choice in the matter, that's a problem. But if somebody says you should do this and you think about it and you decide, yes, that is something that I'm going to do, you have to also be able to decide, no, that's something that I don't want to do. And it's not from a place of like a little kid making this decision, which is oftentimes what we do. Somebody says, and when I say somebody says, I mean like the forces of life and the world tell us. They make it apparent that this is the thing that you should do. And oftentimes we kind of stomp our feet and we go, no, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like it right now. And that is usually how we make our decisions, unfortunately, is how we feel in this moment. But you're not going to get very far in life in practicing martial arts and coding or anything else if you just stomp your foot on the ground and think, I don't feel like doing that right now, so I'm not going to do it. So you got to be able to choose what is important to you and align yourself with that. This is kind of related to what I was saying earlier today in the class this morning, where the challenge of this week is to take some kind of action to stand up for something that you believe in. Stand up for something you believe in is essentially like, this is what is important to me. This is something that I have decided I should do. This is something that is a principle. This is an important thing to me. And me stomping my foot is, I know that the deeper, bigger part of me is aligned with this, but the me that's down here in ego town and is like all in this emotional state doesn't feel like doing it. So the story that I was relating this morning was from The Alchemist. You guys read The Alchemist before? Yeah, good. Everybody raised their hand this morning too. I just read it like a year ago. There's a great part that sticks out in my mind where the young man is told that you're going to go visit this wise sage and ask, about the secrets of life and happiness and all of that. And he arrives at the sage's castle. He's got this monstrous mansion, and it's filled with all these people who are super interesting. He's having a party, and he's got this, all this beautiful decoration, and it's just an incredible, overwhelming thing. And he goes and he finds the sage, and the sage says, hello, what do you need? And he says, I want to know. Tell me the secrets. Tell me where I need to go. Tell me what I need to do. And he says, okay, I want you to take this spoonful of oil, and I want you to walk through my house and come back to me in an hour, and then I'll tell you. So he gives him the oil, and this young man is just like this, walking through the house and just like making sure he's not bumping into walls or people. And he comes back an hour later, and he's kind of like, I did it, I made it. And the sage says, great, you're back, and I see you still got all the oil. Did you notice all of the tapestries on the wall? Did you talk to this very interesting person, this guest of mine? Did you do that? Did you see this? And the young man is like, no, I was so worried about spilling the oil that I didn't see anything else. And this is a story about balance. I mean, you have to balance the spoon so the oil doesn't tip out, but you have to be able to do both. If you are unable to go through life and do things that bring you joy, or if you're unable to, live in the moment and, celebrate the things that you are doing well or whatever it is that there is to celebrate, then your life is going to be quite drab. It's going to be about as exciting as a spoonful of oil. And that's not most people's problem. Most people's problem is the flip. I get so caught up in all of the excitement of life, and I'm pulled this way and I'm pulled that way, the oil goes right off the spoon in the first couple of minutes. And now I've got nothing. So the oil is like your values. The oil is really what is important to you. The oil is what you should do. Yet you've got to be able to balance that with, what is life. So we can't all just go live in a monastery and not do anything. We all should not. If that really speaks to you and that is your life and that becomes the thing that you do, wonderful. But, the world's not necessarily going to go around that way. We got to have people doing different things and having different experiences and growing. And so we've got to be able to take our little spoon of oil outside of the monastery or throughout all of these wondrous sights in the castle and be able to see them without tipping the oil and losing it, and without losing our focus. So we have this direction that we're going in, and we know that this is what is important, this is what we're aligned with, yet we're still able to see and experience life. This is like the difference between living in the world and living of the world. If the world and all of its sensory jostling about, all the hedonistic treadmill, basically, I'm constantly trying to get this desire and this desire and this desire. There's no end to that, and there's no way to be aligned with what's important to you if you're constantly chasing that. But you can't let it go the other direction too far either. So I can live in the world and have it all. I truly believe that you can have it all. You can be very aligned and very focused. And you can get things done. You can do what you need to do. And you can still enjoy life. And you can still, let your focus wander or let yourself reach out to an extent without completely tipping over. And this is, to be able to go out in the world and stand up for something that you believe in and take some kind of concrete action in that is something that is very grounding and brings us back to that which is important to us. If it only lives in your head and you're never actually doing anything about what is important to you, then it's not that important to you, or you're just allowing yourself to be so ineffective in your existence. So know what's important to you and go and take a stand and do something about it. And that simple action is enough to, at least for this day, and probably for longer than that, to connect you to that which is bigger than you, that which is really important to you. And the more often you do that, the more room you have to also kind of, let your hair down, all the way to the shoulders or past, and just enjoy. Be in the moment, be present. And if you're doing that, probably meditation will be easier because everything is kind of in line with what you're trying to do. You'll notice that when I sit to meditate, I'll have little things that come up, but I've been taking action on something that is very important to me. I've accomplished something, even just a tiny bit today, a little bit of progress in that direction. So all of these other things, I can just let go a little bit more easily and just be present. And that should happen in meditation, and that should happen in everything that we do in life. And that is way beyond our time. So sit comfortably.